Hey lovelies, welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's get into today's episode. But just before I cover the recap of Love and Marriage Detroit, please subscribe if you haven't already and make sure you like this video. Now let's get into it. So the episode started with LaToya and Anthony on the boat with two of their friends. And so Anthony was crying and he was upset about the fact that he felt like LaToya's parents were basically not on his side and everyone sort of made him feel like he was a deadbeat instead of supporting this opportunity that he got with Marvel. So he was basically just expressing himself, and he said something that really struck me. He said that he felt like only his grandmother has supported him. And I thought that's very interesting considering you have a wife. Are you saying that your wife does not support you? But nonetheless, I'm glad that he was able to be vocal about exactly how he felt. LaToya was saying that it was the first time that he had been that vocal, and this was the first time that she had seen him being upset, and that she's always felt that he resented her. But he kept saying, oh, he didn't resent her. I think he doesn't like the word, but his actions are showing that there is some resentment there. Now, I like how LaToya was saying in the confessionals that she feels like there's still some residue there that they need to work on so that it doesn't affect their marriage. And I wholeheartedly, completely agree with that. Now, the next scene was Kobe and Chelsea. So Kobe has a really good friend called Chelsea. She invited Chelsea over for business. So just talk about her influencer business, right? Now, so Russell had a quick sidebar conversation with Chelsea before she went to see her friend, just talking about the 30th surprise birthday party that he was throwing for Kobe. And of course, it has to be a surprise. They were like trying to finalize all the finer details as to what needs to happen and whatnot. So then, of course, Chelsea went up there to speak to Kobe. So her and Kobe were talking, and Kobe was talking about this opportunity where she reached out to a brand and was pitching herself. And then the brand told her, the person on the brand, I think she said Jillian, told her that Christina already has a similar idea and that maybe perhaps they need to have a collab together regarding that. And that's very interesting to begin with, in the sense that, like, I feel like there's a familiarity there, because if I've pitched to a brand, the brand could literally say, someone else has pitched this idea, so we can't go with you on this. We're going with what the person said because they've pitched a similar idea. Simple, right? You telling me to then collab with this person when you already have a brand deal with the person or some sort of agreement with the person is nuts. So that's a bit unprofessional in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think about that. Anyway, so Christina... So she was basically saying, Kobe was saying that she's reached out to Christina, and Christina's response was a bit weird, and that Christina was basically saying to her she does not know what she's talking about. And so she reached out to Christina again, but Christina had not yet responded. So then, moving on from that, Christina and Brandon had a date scheduled with their marriage mentors. It appears to be some sort of counseling, because I sort of picked up that they were wearing matching t-shirts, which sort of, in my opinion, it shows that they're trying to promote their brand. And so, but I guess marriage counseling is now called marriage mentoring, whatever, as long as they're getting some sessions in because they need it, okay? So they were asking Brandon and Christina, how have things been going? I hope it's gotten better. And Brandon was like, nah, it's gotten worse. Like, I've not even been sleeping in the same house. And so they start talking about what it is that is going on. Brandon said that, he felt like before he got married, he was popping in the streets. And his career was popping and doing bits. And then since then, he just feels like he hasn't been able to do as much because there's all these restrictions, okay? And then they asked to find out Christina's side, and Christina was talking about she feels like Brandon has some resentment towards her because of that. And to be honest, I couldn't agree more. It comes across like he has some sort of resentment because she has gone on, or she's doing her thing, but he is not able to achieve the same level of success that he was achieving before he got married. And so I feel like there is some resentment there. And I agree with Christina on that. So what was then interesting was that the marriage mentors asked Christina how she felt. So she talked about the resentment. Then she talked about the fact that she felt like his friends were basically coming at her. And she felt belittled. She did not feel protected by her husband. And so Brandon then apologized, basically. He apologized, and the marriage mentors were basically giving, I think, some good advice and telling them that, in a marriage, you can't be doing tit for tat, which is so true. Like, you can't be doing tit for tat. Someone is going to get hurt, or both parties are going to get hurt, and the marriage will not work out. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention was that Brandon apparently said that he was going to leave the marriage. And the thing about that is I feel like you can't be saying things like that. It creates instability in the relationship. And one day the person is going to be like, go and stay gone. Okay? Like, it's never a good idea to be dangling the carrot of divorce or being like, oh yeah, I'm going to leave you. There's no point doing that. Don't do it. I think it's a trap. Like, avoid it at all costs, in my opinion. So moving on from that, LaToya and Anthony were in their car. They were going to church. LaToya's parents are bishop and they're basically pastors, okay? And so apparently LaToya and Anthony and the family go to church every Sunday. I'm like, okay, that's nice. And so LaToya brought it up in the car that she thinks he needs to have a conversation with her dad because of the way he felt, and he needs to just vocalize his feelings, right? Anthony was like, nah, he's over it. I'm like, dude, you're not over it. The way you cried, it's one thing to have facial expressions when you're recalling something that was very upsetting, traumatic for you, but to be shedding those sorts of tears that feel like it is present and in that moment and you're hurt, that is a different ballgame entirely, in my opinion. And so that's something that needs to be addressed. To me, it comes across as Anthony has an avoidant personality where it's like, that's how he deals with conflict. He runs away from conflict unless he absolutely has to address it. That's the impression that I'm getting, because why would he be like, oh, I'm over it? Like, dude, you ain't over it. Anyways, LaToya advises him to speak to her dad. So when they pulled up, Anthony went up to her dad and was like, oh, can he have a quick sidebar conversation with him? So one thing I have to say is I absolutely love LaToya's father. I love how he handled Anthony. Anthony was, of course, very respectful. He was basically saying to him that, he felt like everyone was against him, and he felt like they were basically calling him a deadbeat, and that he just felt like everyone was on LaToya's side and no one was trying to support him. And LaToya's dad was like, at the end of the day, I can, you're allowed to feel the way you feel, and I can't tell you how to feel. And I apologize for making you feel that way. I'm like, look at a man that validates people's feelings. I love it. Even if you have a disagreement, or even if you don't agree with how the person feels, right? You have to be able to accept that someone is allowed to feel the way that they feel. They are allowed to feel the way that they feel. That is how they feel, right? It doesn't mean that that is your intention, but you need to be able to acknowledge and accept that that's how they felt and apologize and move on, right? And so I absolutely loved how he rallied around him and was like, are we good? And I love it was a very wholesome father experience. And of course, he expressed that he wasn't trying to do that, and that he was looking at the family as a unit, and how his son was struggling from racism. Every time he would pick up his son from school, the son was crying, dealing with so much, and he felt like his son needed his father. And I completely agree with that. I also love how he tried to let him know that the opportunity will come back around. I don't know when, but the opportunity will come back around. And I love that. And I was like, okay, LaToya's dad. No wonder you have such a sweet daughter. Although she annoys me a little bit sometimes, but no wonder you have a sweet daughter. Over on the other side, Russell was doing his business deal, honey. Remember, he said he was going to buy a gym, okay? So Russell met up with this guy who is a part owner of the gym. They start doing a walkthrough of the gym. And also the guy is saying to him that, yeah, buying a gym is not as easy as just buying a gym and not doing anything. You need to do some things for at least the first 2-3 years of the business. And that's what he had to do to grow the business. And so Russell is saying in his confessionals, he hopes that it's not going to be that long for him because he does not have that time due to his other business commitments. So he tells Jermaine that he needs to speak to his wife first and then they will talk about it. But then in the next vein was talking about numbers. I'm like, okay, so you've made a decision, but you're saying I got to speak to my wife. But then you're still also saying that they should run the numbers. Which is it, honey? Which is it? Are you waiting to speak to your wife before you make that decision? Or have you made the decision and you just want to tell your wife as a formality? I think that's the answer. You just want to do it as a formality, okay? So moving on from that, then Anthony decided to bring the cast to a skating rink, right? So, of course, some of them were being a little bougie about where the skating rink was. I'm like, honey, just go to the freaking skating rink and go and skate. Go have fun, guys. Like, it ain't that deep. So, of course, people start asking Kobe, where is Russell? She's like, she doesn't know, and Russell will be coming directly and whatnot. So, at this point now, Russell came in, hugged everyone, said hi, pulled Kobe to the side, and basically said to her that, he went to the gym walkthrough and that is 85% sold on the gym. I'm like, oh, God, that's not how you should have said it. I feel like, Russell, your problem is your delivery is so wrong. Your delivery is rooted, in my opinion, misogyny, right? The way you bring it to your wife is not very teammate kind of thing. It's like, I am telling you that this is my decision and I need you on board with it. It gets worse. He said to her, he's a visionary. His job is to cast the vision and it's her job to help him implement it. I was like, say what now? Okay. It was very much given, you're my helper, you're my assistant. If I come to you with a vision, you run with it, honey. And then he started to say to her that she will need to take a step back from her work so that she can basically run the gym. I'm like, first things first, you didn't tell this woman you wanted to buy a gym. Now you've made the decision for her that she will have to take a step back, right? To run from her influence and stuff, to run your gym. That is crazy. So then she's like, you did not involve me in the conversations. And now you're telling me that I'm going to have to take a step back to work on the gym. She's like, if I'm going to be working on the gym, I need to be involved in these conversations. And I completely agree with her. So he was like, oh yeah, he sees a little bit of where she's coming from. I'm like, a little bit? He feels like he sees just a little of how he was wrong. I'm like, dude, you are hella wrong. You've been wrong from the start, honey. Like, let's not do that. A little bit what? Honey, you've been wrong. You are wrong. Like, cut the crap, man. But anyways, Russell is a cute man, but he's annoying. It must be hard to live with these men, to be honest. But anyways, not my problem, someone else's issue. So Anthony starts talking about the men's movement and that he has an event coming up and that he wants to bring men together, support men to be strong men, to be vocal. I'm like, okay, cool. Sounds like a decent enough initiative. And then the guys were talking about how they feel like women have a lot of resources, but men do not. And that they feel like it's very important for men to have that. I completely agree. Men and women need resources and should have resources to help them with their mental health, will help them with their development. The big thing, though, is it something that will help them with their development? Is this something that someone cooked up so that they can push misogynistic views and ideas and opinions and rhetoric, right? So if we separate it and we are clear about what it is, if it is something that is going to help improve men, their mental health, their lifestyle, then I'm absolutely on board with it. Yes, help these men. We know a lot of men need help, so please help them, right? But I'm not convinced that it's not going to be the misogynistic BS that we've been seeing on the show already. Okay, so I'm going to reserve my comments until I see that. Also, Brandon made a little comment about wanting to do an event and wanting everyone to come and support. And, the guys anyway. And that he's going to have a bunch of artists, and then he's going to have his artists there as well. So it sounds like he's trying to do some sort of showcase, and he wants the male involvement in it, in the planning, and I guess financial as well. So the men seem okay and interested in doing that or whatnot, at least supporting their friend. So this is where things got a little spicy, okay? Christina and Kobe were having a sidebar conversation. And so Kobe brings up the fact that she reached out. Christina was like, well, she had a lot of things going on this week. Kobe was still basically like, well, I reached out. You could have just said you have a lot of things going on. I'll reach out back or something like that. I hear you, sis. I hear you. As someone who does not like to be ignored, I hear you, sis, right? But at the same time, you also have to understand people deal with things differently, okay? Not everyone wants to have a conversation if they're going or dealing with something. Now, I don't personally believe that Christina ignored her because she was dealing with something. I feel that Christina ignored her because Christina was like, what the heck is this girl texting me about? She wants to jump in on something that I'm doing? Yeah, nah, she does not know what is coming to her. So I feel like that is what that is, right? Christina, you're a little avoidant, but that's okay. Some of us are. But sis, this is now your opportunity to speak up, okay? So Kobe starts saying to her about how she reached out to the brand. The brand said, Christina already pitched a similar idea. You guys can collaborate on it. Reach out to her if she wants to collaborate on it. And so basically, Christina was like, girl, I did not understand it. That's why I said I didn't understand it. Christina was basically feeling like she had already pitched to the brand and that Kobe was trying to jump in on an existing collaboration she already had. And so Kobe is again really upset. Kobe is over talking Christina. And Kobe is trying to say, if it was me, I would want to do a collaboration. We've been saying we would do collaborations for a long time. And so this is an opportunity to collaborate, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, girl, I understand both sides, but I can't. Okay, I understand both sides and I'll explain why. And then I'll tell you ultimately whose side I am on this issue. So now I understand from the position of Kobe. Kobe's like, we've talked about collaboration all the time. Why not collaborate on this, right? I understand Christina's point. Christina is like, I already have this collaboration with this person. I already have it bagged. I'm going to be making a certain amount from it, right? This is all done and tight. And then someone is coming to me, asking me to join in a collaboration. And this is how they're doing it. It's not even like they're begging to be like, okay, I really wanted to do this. And I heard you've done this. Is it possible we can collaborate on this? You can get the high. Like, she's not coming correctly, right? I already have it in the bag. Let's say, for instance, I'm meant to make £100,000 or dollars from this, right? And then you're coming to me wanting to collaborate when I already have the gig for £100 or 100,000, knowing fully well I'm going to have to split the money with you. Why would I want to do that? What is the benefit to me? And Christina was basically trying to say, my idea of us collaborating is things like a day in the life, us doing certain projects together, not brand deals. We're talking about money here, honey. Don't be naive, right? That's what I feel like Christina should have said, but she didn't say it, okay? Now, Kobe was getting really defensive and saying that, if it was her, she'll bring her in, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if that's you, that's fine, right? But that does not mean that is how everyone is going to be. Everyone loves money differently. Everyone views opportunities very differently. Not everyone is going to be feeling like, let me bring Kobe into this paid opportunity, especially when the idea was not for you guys to do it together. And you should be able to appreciate and respect that. Now, if you guys are listening to me, you already know, whilst I don't appreciate how Christina went about it, I completely agree and see where Christina is coming from. Because if I have a brand deal and an opportunity already, and then you're wanting to come in on it, and you're basically saying you want it to be a collaboration. It's not a collaboration. I already have the deal, right? Now, if we made an agreement to go and pitch something to a particular brand, we are going there to pitch it together, right? We're being like, okay, this is what we're doing together. That is a collaboration, right? This one, the only person that's going to get the short end of the stick is Christina, because she's going to be losing out on money that they already agreed to give her to begin with. What's in it for her? Especially if she already feels like sometimes you're stealing her ideas. What is in it for her? Nothing. And I didn't appreciate how Colby was over talking her. It's like, honey, let her speak. You said what you have to say. Now let her speak, right? And I feel like Christina should have said, you let me speak, or you stop shouting at me. Don't raise your voice at me, or let me speak, right? She should have gone back to her, because I'm sorry, there's no way I'm going to let someone sit in my face and be talking to me like that and not letting me speak. That is not going to happen at all. Now, Christina should have handled it differently, 100%. But also, wasn't it interesting when Christina said to her, so did you go there to pitch for both of us? Did you tell me you were pitching to her before you pitched to her? She said, yes, she went there to pitch for both of them, which is not true. You didn't. Then it was then later that she then clarified, you didn't go there to pitch. The lady then said, she has already done giving you this idea. Do you guys want to collaborate on it? That is what happened. It wasn't you went to go and pitch. I get the impression Christina probably gets more influencer brands, and I feel like this might be Kobe's opportunity to get maybe one proper one, or I don't know what it is, but it's given she doesn't have that many or that much experience with brands, and she's looking at this as a huge opportunity. So I just think that's really interesting. But yeah, I do understand both sides. Now, this is where it got worse. So the men decided to join the conversation and be like, oh, what are you all talking about? And then Russell was trying to be nice and be like, oh, you guys are friends, you guys this, and you guys settle it. Next thing, Mr. Brandon comes in and he's like, well, this is not the first time that you have done things like this. There was a makeup artist example. And I'm like, honey, you are escalating this issue. It does not need to be escalated, right? It does not need to be. Why are you escalating it? This is insane. Like, I was just like, I don't know what's going on here, but this is hella wrong. He then proceeded to call her a Colby cat. I'm like, no, bro, no. And then he's like, oh, my wife says I don't protect her and defend her, so this was my opportunity to defend her. I'm like, no. You, yet again, did not protect her. If anything, you embarrassed her. Because guess what? She was not vocal about those things. You ain't got to say it. Let it come from her mouth and then you back her up. Not you stirring the pot, honey. So if you definitely need a few lessons in protection, honey. Because no. You ignited the fire, honey. And Russell was like, don't speak to my wife. I'm like, yes, sir. Now that's how you protect your wife, honey. That is, take some notes, get your pen out and take some notes, Brandon, because you really need it. Anyways, overall, the episode was probably maybe about 7 for me. Let me know what you guys thought. Please give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe and tap that bell for notifications so you know every single time that I post. Thank you so much. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.